Hello everyone, my name is Jacob and today I'm back in the world of guns, disassembly, and today we're looking at a very cool rifle. We've got the first assault rifle here today to field strip and examine and take a look at. This is the STG, the German STG 44. Basically World War II German assault rifle. So let's go into field strip here and see what this thing is all about. And I'm gonna tell you some stuff about it as well. Hopefully, I know a little bit about the history. So basically, if you look at this from the side, it's a very weird looking gun. And that's probably because this is a sort of a hybrid between a quote-unquote or a so-called battle rifle, which would be a rifle, a main rifle used by troops during like World War II and before, which would be in a full sized military cartridge. So I'm thinking something like 8mm Mauser, so that would be the Kar 98K for the German example, or maybe the Mosin for the Russian example, the Soviet example, and of course they had semi-auto rifles as well, but those were also full rifle cartridges, like 7.62 by 54R. And also, of course, the American example, which would be the Garand, with also a full power rifle cartridge, the 30-06. And then, as I said, the Germans also had pretty much the same type of setup. The Germans also experimented with semi-auto full power rifles during the war. But then at the end, so towards the end, the first sort of rifles of this type were around 43. So you had the MP versions, so the MP43, and then the MP44, also called the STG 44. So basically, they sort of just morphed a submachine gun, which would be at that time in a pistol caliber, with a rifle, and this is pretty much what they got. So basically, you have a shortened rifle cartridge, in this case 8mm short or 8mm Kurz, which would not be as good for long range, but it would be sufficient for like a shorter range, and it would have much less recoil, much less pressure, and therefore it could be incorporated into a smaller, lighter rifle, which could also be fired full auto without too much trouble, and you could carry more of the ammo. Also, the mags wouldn't have to be as big. The mags would hold more ammo, and basically just stuff like that. So basically trading your long-range capabilities with iron sights weren't really that great. Trading that for just maneuverability, less weight, and generally better characteristics of a firearm. The other sort of characteristic of this rifle is that it is pretty much all stamped construction, at least the receiver is. So that's a technique that the Germans sort of perfected during the war. As you probably know, they were fighting with primarily shortages of materials and of factories and all sorts of stuff, basically. So they were trying to come up with a an easier way, a more cost-efficient and time-efficient way of producing rifles for their soldiers, and this is pretty much what they came up with. So it's the receiver is actually stamped out on a large sort of machine from a sheet piece of steel, and that makes it much cheaper to produce because you don't have to mill it out of like a solid block of metal. It's also much quicker, and generally a better way to mass produce rifles. So basically, they had to perfect it quite a number of times, but they got there in the end. And once they got there, they could just produce these rifles, and it would be very cost effective. So let me just take you through the rifle here, through the basic setup. So we have a gas piston operated rifle. We'll take that apart and take a look at it. The magazine is awfully large. I believe they had this was like a 30 round, maybe it was a 35 or 40, I'm not sure. Looks awfully long. We've got a selector switch on this side, which enables the full auto capability. You can see it has a pistol grip, such as a modern assault rifle. The stock also mounted to the rear of the receiver there. It has a sort of short sight radius, and much like an AK, sort of looks like an AK as well. We've got this rear sight on this sort of thing on the back of the barrel, and then we've got the raised front sight. So let's take this thing apart and see how it's made, and what it looks like on the inside. So if we take out the mag, first of all, there is some takedown pins. There's one. Take off the stock. You can see the recoiler spring goes into the stock. That way the receiver can be shorter, and then we can just pivot the receiver down. This is very much like an AR actually, and then we can take out the bolt carrier and the piston. You can see the piston doesn't really look like anything else. I don't think so. This rifle has a sort of a tilting bolt design, locking system. I guess I'll be able to show that to you later. So it's not a rotating bolt like a modern rifle, but it did the job, because obviously the cartridge was not a full rifle cartridge, and they could get away with that. A simpler operating system. Alright, so we've got this receiver here. We've got the stacking rod / gas plug on the front. That's pretty much it. This is our field strip. Alright, so let's put this back in. You can see this is all one piece, basically. The receiver is just stamped and welded together. So let's put it back together, and we'll check how it works later. So we've got this bolt. It's got a firing pin. You can see it's just a free floated firing pin. I guess it's hammer fired as well. Alright, so we've got our operating bits. They go in the back there, and then the receiver just folds down here. We've got the recoil spring. We've got our stock that goes on here, and then we've got the pin. Nice. And also the magazine. Perfect. There we have one reassembled STG-44. Alright, let's see how it works now. So let's go into operation, see how this thing works. Alright, so you can see fires semi-auto, and if we flip the switch, the fun switch, no, that's safe. Can we go to yes, there we go. Perfect. Nice. Okay. So you can see the charging handle is actually on the left side of the gun, and the ejection port is on the right side. You can see the ejection port also has a dust cover, much like an AR design, which is very interesting. You can see how designers and engineers sort of get their ideas from previous designs. That's pretty cool. Alright, let's reload it. You can see there's the button for the mag on the left side there. You can access that quite easily with your thumb if you grab the mag from the front with your left hand. Quite nice. Okay, what else can we do? So let's go into like slow-mo, and we'll go into just leave it in auto, fine. There we go. You can see the piston working in there, the op rod working in there. Let's go into X-ray. Alright, there we go. We've got the bolt here, the trigger. There we go. We've got the barrel and the mag here as well. So you'll be able to see how the what the operating system is like. So you can see the op rod has this sort of hook on the bottom, and the bolt has a hook on the top, and that's what interfaces with each other, and that's what brings the bolt back up and down, which locks or unlocks it. So that's fired. You can see the op rod comes back, and the hook sort of pulls the bolt upwards, and that unlocks it, and then it can travel backwards. That's pretty cool. Quite a simple system actually. It sort of locks in the bottom of the receiver here, right behind the mag well. That's obviously a milled part there, which would be just like welded in or riveted in or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a very simple gun. You can see the recoil spring in the buttstock. It's sort of at a downward angle, but it doesn't really matter that much. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, what else can we do? We've got plastic for whatever reason, don't know. I guess it's different colors, so we can see different stuff more easily. What else can we do? Unload, sure. Let's go out of slow-mo, please. Thank you. Let's use the charging handle. Unload this boy. There we go. See how that works. Alright. And then the rear sight can be adjusted probably. There we go. That's for like length of shooting. What is that called? Like I don't know. Range. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Adjustable for range. Perfect. Okay. What else can we do? Gas plug adjustment apparently is a thing. Ooh, you can bring that all the way out. What's the point of that? Why would you adjust that? Let's see. So it comes all the way out. I guess it's got a different hole size in it. A different port size for the barrel in the gas plug. So I guess that's for when your rifle is really dirty and you cannot clean it because you're in the middle of a battle and it starts malfunctioning. So I guess you just unscrew that a bit and it probably has a bigger porthole in it, so that it gets more gas through and your rifle continues to cycle. Pretty cool. Alright, what is this? Krumlauf. Oh, that's the muzzle nut. Oh, of course, that's the like cross the hill shooting thing. It's actually for I believe it was used for shooting out of like armored vehicles. But also they had like a 90-degree version for shooting round corners. I'm fairly certain that I've seen that before. It's pretty cool. Can we let's reload it and see if we can make that work and how it works exactly. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now this thing, this barrel on the end here would get worn very, very quickly, so you probably don't want to use that too much. But it's a neat idea to shoot round corners. Pretty cool. It's got an elaborate sort of very German style of sight, around the corner sighting system on the top of it, which I could imagine it's not the lightest thing in the world on the hanging on the end of your rifle. So whatever. So let's go through the cutaways. Oh yeah, you can see the mag there, and back of the bolt chamber. Pretty cool, right? Okay, let's go out of here and let's go into disassembly. We're gonna take this thing apart quickly and put it back together. Right, so first of all, take the mag out. We have a spring in there, so we need to take that out. Alright, perfect. And then we've got this takedown pin here. We've done that before. The stock comes off there. We've got the recoil spring. Then we can probably take the stock apart. It's probably got a bunch of stuff on it, like this socket, and then we've got the trap on the rear. That's got a bunch of parts. Alright, and then we've got this bottom thing here. The rest should be just wood, other than this piece over here. There we are. Alright. We can take off grip screws and the grip panels. There we go. Since we are already here, I can't see why we wouldn't do that. And then we can move on to the actual rifle. So we've got our receiver here. We can just take out the bolt carrier and the up rod and the piston. We've got the charging handle on the left side here. You can see we can remove the piston. Doesn't have anything else. And then we've got this thing, which is a sort of a plunger for the firing pin. Interesting. I guess it transfers the force from the hammer, which strikes back here. You can see there's a cutout for the hammer into the firing pin. Interesting. And we've got the bolt. Looks fairly interesting. We've got the firing pin as we had before. We've got our extractor on the side of the bolt, and that's it. That's it for the bolt. Okay. And then for the rest of the receiver, we've got this pin that we can take out and take the whole thing off. And then for the lower, there's a bunch of inner workings in here by looks. So let's see what we can do here. There's a bunch of little springs and stuff. Okay, interesting. There's a plate of things. There's a thing there as well. Okay. And there's another little spring here. And then there's a pin. Couple of pins here. Alright. That's the hammer. that's only a single part. We've got the hammer spring, it's pretty beefy, and then some inserts here. We've got this thing, which is probably a disconnect. Oh, that's the catch lever. Okay. There's your trigger. Okay, it's got a couple of parts here, and then we've got this selector assembly. Okay. Take this off. Perfect. And then we've got this thing, catch lever. We've got this cross pin selector button, and then selector button pin. We've got our actual trigger lever, right? And then there's something else in there. Oh yeah, of course, the safety lever. Interesting. Okay. There's a bunch of things in there still. Inserts. Nice. This is quite a complicated trigger group. But the rest of the rifle isn't really that complex. I mean, the buttstock did have a bunch of stuff on it. Very not cost effective. I think this thing is clean now, probably. Okay, let's move on to the upper. So we've got the sight here, and it's just connected with some screws. Interesting. And this thing has a whole bunch of stuff on it. We've got the actual leaf, and it's got a spring, and this button slider, and that comes apart more apparently. That's quite complex. Okay, and then we've got this sort of a plate base, right? There is your dust cover with the detent as well. Okay, is that it? I think so. We have some pins here. That's for the ejector. We have the magazine catch, of course, that's on the other side. It's gonna come out this side probably. There we go. There's a spring on there. We have, there's your locking block. There it is. You can probably change that. Just like, it's just a little piece. You can probably change that as it wears. To sort of adjust the clearancing of the rifle. Right, so we've got the gas plug here. We've got this muzzle cover thing as well. There's a whole little thing in the front side base, and then the whole base comes off apparently. It's got a hood, separate hood. It's got a separate front sight blade, and then we've got this front like thing that doesn't have anything else. No, the sling swivel is attached to that. We've got the gas tube, nice, and the barrel. Interesting. And then there's 4 more parts, obviously, which I'm probably never gonna find. They're probably like, oh, there's a couple of parts in here apparently. Okay, and then there's 2 more parts. Yeah, this thing has quite a number of parts. It may be easier to produce, but damn, there's still a lot of little fiddly bits. I guess that's probably one of the main things that got improved in like the AR-15 and the AK. They don't have a bunch, like a real bunch of small fiddly parts like this thing has. So I guess it was the first of its kind, and I guess they had to start somewhere. It worked, so it was pretty good for the time, definitely. I cannot find 2 more parts, for Christ's sake. Why is this always a thing with me and these things? I don't know. Cut 2 rifle back together. Alright, so that was a sort of a look at the STG 44/MP44/ the Sturmgewehr / the German World War II assault rifle. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. This is a really cool rifle. I would not mind having one of these at home, definitely, to try out. I'm not sure. I've seen a couple of sort of replicas, more or less. I think I'm fairly certain that there's one in the making in the US, which is supposed to be quite accurate. I've seen a couple in like 22 long rifle. I've also seen one probably which was like a full cartridge, like a 8mm, fairly certain. I don't know though about the accuracy of those things. Definitely we'll have to check them out. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, you can press the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my other videos, and I will see you next time.